Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Farmer's Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for Thursday, the 21st. I'm laughing because I guess I had the mute button on. I apologize for that. So I'm going to redo this video, and I'll try to redo it kind of quickly. Overall price action today, not great. Breadth was not particularly good today. That kind of gave a clue today about what today was going to be like. If you look at the performance for the day, the VIX was up 6% today. That is usually the case when we have an event that everybody is widely anticipating. Powell does speak tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, hence volatility rising into that. Also, a decent amount of selling pressure. I'm going to go over that with you in just a second. And if you look at the areas that outperformed today, very interesting. The small caps actually did okay today, but the Qs still underperforming, even though not that huge, down about 0.5% versus SPY down 0.4 of a percentage point. The gold miners continue to outperform. Doesn't get that much attention. They're just not as popular as the AI and high growth names, but they continue to act really well, really smooth in terms of the chart, which I will go over shortly. Underperformers today, both solar and the medical devices. So let me go through a couple things here, and I'll try to do it quickly. But I mentioned that there was some selling pressure. So the first thing that I'm going to go over with you guys is let me stop sharing, and this is the tick index, which is essentially gives you a sense of if there's selling pressure or if there is buying pressure. It looks at like advancing versus declining issues. A lot of times it's good to spot like if there is a buy program or sell program. For example, yesterday, much different day yesterday. There was the heavy move to the downside, kind of a washout, and then there was buying the dip going on yesterday. We didn't really take back any ground, and I'll get into that with the charts in just a second. But notice how many times like we touched 1,000 ticks yesterday, right? There was definitely some buying the dip yesterday. Today, it was almost the opposite. On the very open, we got a kind of a washout type negative 1,000. So again, I look at this for extremes, and a lot of times, like even if I see poor breath and I see we open up now down 1,000 ticks, then it's usually a pretty washout to the downside. Now, we did get a bounce, and I'll bring up the charts in just a second, but notice how many times that we kept on getting these 1,000 ticks today. This was at 1:30 today where we got, this was the worst of the day, negative 1,300. So there was some sell programs that were going on. So this is the one thing that's kind of good, I think, about going into this event tomorrow, is there's some fear going into this event tomorrow. And probably there should be. Powell has not been such a dovish guy, right? Next screen I'm going to show you is the reaction of what happens on these around Jerome Powell's Jackson Hole speeches. Again, it's just a speech tomorrow. He's not giving, there's no monetary policy adjustment or anything like that. Clearly the first line, that's for tomorrow. All we know is that we've sold off about 1% the 5 days leading up until this. Last year, it was kind of the opposite. We rallied into the event. I don't know why, but we then had a 4% sell-off. Now, again, I don't know if that's all based on Jackson, based on what Powell was saying, as you just have to kind of understand that August is a weak seasonal period of the time. So that's something that I would be mindful this whole month, is that it's a weak seasonal month. 2023, wasn't a big move. The day after, the day of, and then 2022, I would almost throw out because it was a bear market. But you could look at the other data points too. The bottom line is, the market the equity market really isn't in love with Powell. Now, what do I think could happen? And I'll cover this really quickly because I've talked about this already in my midday note. Please make sure that you're signed up for the midday note. even the free version, because you'll get a lot of, I think, really good information. Please, give me some feedback on that. I would love to hear about that. And you could sign up for the version, the paid version, which is $20, so that you could see my trade setups, trade ideas, open positions as I take positions, and then the watch list, which kind of gives me a sense of what I'm looking for in terms of entering positions. So here's my thoughts on Powell's speech. Number one, like, I don't think he's going to say anything because we're going to get a lot more information in terms of economics. Like, he probably wants to see what that next jobs report is going to be. Remember, last jobs report, every monthly jobs report happens on the first Friday of the new month. So come September, first Friday of the month, we're going to get another jobs report, right? Was the last report weak? Was it a one-off? Sometimes that happens with seasonality and so forth, right? So this month will kind of confirm whether there's a trend in that employment is definitely weakening, or if that last report was just a blip. So we don't know that yet, nor does Powell. So we're also going to get more inflation data that's going to come out. So that's probably why he has no need to come out and say that he's going to do anything different than what he said a few weeks ago, right? And we heard that in the Fed minutes yesterday, right? Many of the Fed members don't think that they need to do anything right now. Some of the other ones do think we need to do something, but I don't think they're seeing, like, what would cause him to change his tone is probably if he saw something really weak in the data. And I don't know if we have that yet. So that's my point on that. My view is, do they need to act? Yeah, I do. And that's because of the current interest rate that we're at right now. 4.5% is major tightening against the American consumer. And it's been like that for a while. So my view is, for being that I think that there's some fear into this meeting tomorrow, if Powell just says that they're leaving the door open to a rate cut in September, that might do it. Like, that might help the market, and maybe we can turn and go higher tomorrow. If he talks more about the uncertainty with tariffs and they're so concerned about inflation, right, and doesn't mention anything about September, yeah, the market could sell off based on that, right? So that's my viewpoint on that. Let's get into really quickly the charts. So there's a positive here, right? We're dipping here, but we really haven't broken any major support. That level for me that I'm watching is 631.73. And right now we're just checking back, right? And that's neat and tidy so far. But we don't know how this week is going to finish. We don't know what he's going to say tomorrow. And that could get the market uncomfortable. So for now, we're holding in that. Looking at the 5-minute, the 1-hour chart, right? We had that wash below, we rebounded, but we really didn't take back the short-term trend. So far, we have a little bit of a higher low, but first things first, the trend is still down here in the short term since we turned on Friday. There's nothing major to kind of really say is that other than we haven't broken support, but we're still trending lower. Here's where it gets a little bit more uncomfortable. The Qs, which have been underperforming, it says right here, bearish 80% rule. That means that there's an 80% chance that we go from one side of the value area to the other, as long as we haven't made a trip. And we haven't. We almost did here, but that remains the case. Is that the end of the world if that bearish 80% rule plays out? Probably not. It's only about 2%. That's not a huge move. And that's basically back to where we were in the beginning of the month, right? So not that big of a deal. Can we easily get back above the value area for the month? Sure, we could. It's only 0.5%. I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to look at the 1-hour chart next. Notice how well the value area for the month gave you a great level. We talked about this yesterday, and I said, hey, this was a great looking bounce. However, we were not able to reverse the short-term trend, and we failed there. Right. And again, that level is 566.42. So we break back above that, then we're on to something. For now, everything else, the majority of things that I'm going to go through for now, especially in your high growth names, is just basically I don't think there's a ton of things that you could say, oh my God, this is wonderful. There's definitely some progress, and I'm going to go over those names. I just want to go over IWM too because it outperformed, right? Let's look at the daily chart of this. Right, so we're holding in here too with IWM, right? No break. We slid into that value area yesterday, but we closed above. Did the same thing yesterday too, and we closed above. Now, are we above the 5-period moving average? No, we're not. Right. So there's no take back yet of the short-term trend. So we're just kind of in a holding period. And we know that buyers have kind of come in and defended, but we're still wrestling this out with the sellers too. So I would be watching that 5-period moving average. Now, let's go through some names. Now, I'm going to go through these popular names that everybody is paying attention to, which I don't like this particularly, that everybody's so focused on the same names. Palantir, right? Hell of a bounce yesterday, but could not change the trend, right? And right now, this is sideways because we're inside value. 160.30 is where that changes, right? And here's what this looks like on the 1-hour chart. Notice this big bounce yesterday. Really lovely move yesterday, but just a one-day move. We did not break back above that value area. So, and in fact, a little bit of a rejection there, right? The next biggest name everybody seems to be watching on social media, Robinhood, right? Robinhood, same thing. And I sold Robinhood in the beginning of the day. I actually added it back yesterday, and then I did not go home with it. Right? Why didn't I go home with it? Because there wasn't any confirmation that anything was changing here. Right? That level for me is 107.40, and that's where Robinhood needs to reclaim, and then I can get back involved in it. ALAB, which is another favorite name. Really nice day for this stock. Ended up 3%, but needs to get back above the 5-period moving average for buyers to be in control. Nice bounce, but that short-term trend, it's not confirmed yet in terms of retaking the uptrend. Another name that I pay attention to is CRDO. Same thing, heck of a bounce, not reclaiming the 5-day moving average yet. Another name that I will say was really strong today, TEM, up 4.7%. A little bit of a failure. Sorry to be negative about this because it is nice. Yes, it reclaimed the 5-period moving average. Nice turn, but just didn't clear out those previous highs. Next, in terms of names that I wanted to go over, AppLovin. This is a name, by the way, I'm watching this one too, but notice, got to the 5-day moving average, couldn't retake it. Now, this is nice. It's above, it's above the 20-day moving average, right? Above the value area for the month, right? It just needs to kind of go a little bit further here for me to really want to get involved in it, right? I need to see that confirmation. I was going to bring up a couple new ones. Bullish had a heck of a day today. That's a nice move, right? And you're going to say, wow, look at that, above the 5-day moving average. Let's go to the 1-hour chart. I've got a great level to watch here, right? So if you bought the absolute lows, congratulations. That's a heck of a trade. But notice where we're right into resistance, right? And here's the level to watch for a real serious turn, or for more than a bounce, and that's 69.86. That's the level that I'm watching here. Another one I'm watching too, because it saw a boatload of calls today. A lot of August 29th, 37.5 calls in this thing, right? This is Unity Software. I don't know. We've seen this a couple times, a lot of call buying in this before. Maybe there's some type of speculation that somebody's poking around here, maybe looking to take a stake in Unity Software or something other. I don't know, but a lot of short-term calls going up in this one. Let me get into a name that I did take today. MP Materials. Why did I get long this name? Well, there was a headline about the administration could be reallocating some money from semis into precious metals, rare earth type names. There was also a headline about cobalt. There isn't a pure play on cobalt that I know of in the United States. Maybe FCX might be your closest play. More international stuff like Vale and BHP have exposure to cobalt. But I liked this coming into support, and it doesn't, now I'm playing a bounce. I don't know what it's going to do at the 5-day moving average, so I will probably lighten up into that and see if it could retake the 5-period moving average. Also, USAR had a nice move today too. Still, nice bounce, didn't get over the 5-day moving average. One other one that I got long today, starter position, KRMN. I'll explain that. Really like the consolidation here. It did break out of the value area for the month, but didn't quite break the value area for the week, right? So starter position for me, I'll add to it if it could break 52.47. All right, so A little bit shorter version of the video because the first video I had on mute. I apologize for that. My thoughts for tomorrow, closing thoughts. Hey, we've got a nice dip in here, right? We've got no confirmation of the trend changing yet. So something to be mindful of, right? I want to see some confirmation, and I want to see Powell not be super hawkish. If he can kind of leave the door open to September having a rate cut, this market could bounce quite nicely. But if he's super hawkish, probably we'll see more to the downside because it is what it is. We are in a seasonal weak month. We need to hear some good news. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.